Look at Aardman Animation, Aardman Studios. You know, Aardman is known for Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, the claymation thing.
The claymation stuff.
Yeah. Did that burn down?
Yes, it did.
It did burn down. Yeah.
That's a whole nother story.
I'm saying, like, it seemed like they went like, oh, well, the 3D is the thing now. Fuck that.
Yeah, I thought I was kind of like, somebody came in like, y'all do realize that we got money now. We ain't got to keep playing with all this cheap-ass clay. We got computers that we can do this with now. Somebody like, oh, yeah. So, yeah.
We forget.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just the fact that claymation. Well, claymation is cool. I like claymation. But
sure.
that wasn't the only appeal of those guys, obviously. It was really good writing. And it was so just goddamn British.
It's so goddamn funny.
But in a good way. Not like oh, this is boring.
Oh, no.
Not Merchant Ivory British.
Yeah.
More Benny Hill British.
Yeah.
Right up my alley. But, with a movie like this, though, because I tell you what, I wish I would have seen that Aardman trademark that they had when they showed this preview. Because when I saw the preview for this movie, all I did was groan in the theater and go, fuck, I really don't want to see that shit.
Right. Another Christmas horned-in thing from probably somebody like DreamWorks just trying to make a buck off the holidays that probably will suck because who needs to put in effort? You've got Christmas in the title.
Oh, you got Arthur's Christmas, which if I would have seen that, I would have been like, "Oh fuck, are you kidding me? They're making the sequel to Arthur. And it's going to be a Christmas movie. It's going to be Arthur drunk."
You mean that Arthur?
Yeah.
Arthur the children's book.
I know. I thought either case was not good.
Christmas like spinoff from the Russell Brand remake of Arthur.
Hey, why don't you guys put some jingle bells up my ass? Drink this scotch.
Yeah.
Like a party to me.
The kids love it.
Well, that guy is starting to look like clay a little bit now. So,
aren't you glad though that you didn't know? Because then you went to this movie dreading it, and 10 minutes in, you were like, "Wow, this is not what I was expecting."
I had a Despicable Me moment where I was like, "Wow!" From the get go, as soon as this movie starts, I mean, it had me laughing, and I was so goddamn happy at the end of this movie. I was like, "Wow, okay." Now, number one, that's how you do a Christmas movie. Number two, that's how you do a Santa Claus Christmas movie. And number three, it's good to see a movie like this where it really, lets you know what the whole idea of Christmas and why it's an actual fun idea when you think about Christmas and revolving around Santa Claus and the holiday spirit.
Yeah, it brings back to even to an adult mind what we loved about Christmas as a kid without ever feeling like I'm just trying to sell you something while it's doing it.
It's funny because you guys got the warm and fuzzies from it. That's not what I enjoyed about it.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that other side too.
There's a whole other side too.
Go ahead.
Well, what I loved was how it reminded me of Christmas because there's an awkward, uncomfortable family dynamic that's going on, and they dive headlong into it and don't shy away from it.
Yeah, this is about Santa's son, right?
Oh yeah,
Arthur.
His two sons.
Well, his two sons,
Arthur and Stephen.
Yeah, Arthur played by James McAvoy, who's the nice, sweet, well-meaning, truly Christmas-loving,
completely clumsy, fuck up.
Yeah, and then there's Steve, played by Hugh Laurie, who is the older one, the shoe-in choice to inherit the Santa suit.
He's the heir apparent.
Yeah.
Like he has revolutionized the Santa industry. Like instead of a sled, they're in a starship.
Yeah.
That goes all over the world. They drop a dome over a city. They turn on the cloaking device. The elves parachute down like ninjas to every single house. He's got it down to a science. I mean, it's a marvel to watch.
Oh, so that's how they do it.
Okay. Yeah, no. Like the way Steven has it all hooked up. I mean, he's using Blackberries and GPSs.
Yeah,
and it's usually go like, wow, God, seeing like that. Yeah, it is possible. I could see. I mean, he's turned it into a thing of beauty.
And it's gotten to that point though that he is so much taken over that even though Santa, played by Jim Broadbent, is, and wonderfully so by the way, I loved his version of this, is still the guy actually going out there directing the elves. Ultimately, he is just a figurehead. Yeah. He doesn't really know what's going on. He's like when you put your grandfather in front of a computer and say, "Hey, Google something." That look you get of just bewilderment.
He's like one of those old British colonels that would be in the same rest home as Commander McBragg. Yeah. He's like, "Oh yeah, yes, of course. Carry on, please."
I see him more as a Stan Lee, where he's just there. He's just there. He's like, the guy who's involved with Marvel Comics.
Merry Christmas, true believers.
Yeah. He's not writing shit. He's not doing anything.
We have a dome that can cover a whole city. Excelsior.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem, of course, comes when like after, this great system sees, what could fall through the cracks? Well, just one kid. Like most of us would go, we go, so what? One fucking kid.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
I just got presents to 1 billion kids in one night.
Yeah.
You gonna bust my balls about one kid?
But,
Get the fuck out of
But
here.
Arthur, the good-natured son, is like, no, this is a really big deal. Like the fact that we're looking at this in terms of statistics means that we've forgotten what Christmas was actually supposed to be all about. And he teams up with his Grand Santa, the Santa before Jim Broadbent's character, played wonderfully by Bill Nighy, who's kind of senile and crazy at this
It's
point.
funny. I thought for sure that was Jeffrey Rush until I saw the credits at the end.
That just sounds racist. That sounds too much like the Grand Wizard, Grand Santa. I don't.
No, if she had been black, she wouldn't have gotten anything.
It happens anyway.
I mean, this family is a legacy of Santa, so it just passes on to the next, I guess, oldest son. And you're at this point where, Stephen, who's running everything, and the current Santa we know of, Malcolm, it's his 70th year, and it's all in the works for Stephen to take over this year.
Yeah.
And right when it's time for that to happen, Santa says, I have an announcement to make. I can't wait to do it again next year. And Stephen is like, what the fuck?
And Stephen says we have to kill Santa.
Yeah, it's the dynamic that I'm sure Ryan Seacrest has with Dick Clark, where he's like, I'm ready to take over this New Year's party. No, you're not.
I'm dead. Even then.
I can't wait till now.
So they get into Grand Santa's.
Because the Grand Santa's like, y'all, you young snap. They don't know. I used to do it all in a sled. I could show them.
Yeah.
He's a crotchety, crankety, old, pissy, old ass man. You could not stand.
It's going to be you in like a year.
and I got to say, Charles Dickens, I don't like that future.
But they climb into his ghetto ass sled, and it is. I mean, it's the classic sled, but it's like been sitting there rusting, so pieces have fallen off of it.
That shit is called Rosebud.
Right? Some reindeer aren't even still alive.
Like he and Arthur and his old retired reindeer in the back.
Yeah, and one elf, the gift wrapping.
Yeah, the gift wrap specialty elf decided that they're going to go out and they're going to get this little bike to this one kid. But the problem is none of them have a fucking clue what they're doing.
Right. they got 2 hours to do it from the North Pole to England. They got no clue as to how to do this. Whereas, Steven, he doesn't even know they're gone, but he's like, yeah, so what? Yeah. And even Santa himself is like, oh, we missed a kid? Oh, well, that's not cricket.
Oh, well,
Too
next
bad.
year.
Oh, well.
And that's the funny dynamic about where it's like your friend who insists on using a fucking map when you both have goddamn iPhones with with the GPS. You're like, dude, come on, listen, no, let's do it the old way. That way used to be the good way back then, not this all technology and shit.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like when they have family dinner and they go to play a board game, like the four. The whole Christmas family, the current Santa, Stephen, who should be Santa, Grandpa Santa, and even Arthur. And that whole thing with them they're playing a board game. I'm like, wow, that's Christmas right
That's
there.
exactly
It's too much
yeah.
family, too much bad history, and all that shit just comes out in an argument. It's just like, wow, I'm enjoying this at the same time I feel uncomfortable watching it.
And that's what's clever about these guys that work behind the scenes of Aardman, where they manage to get things where you just would think, wow, should we put this in a kids movie? And they do, but they do it in such a charming way to where you all recognize it, to where they're not playing down to the kids. They're not treating the kids like they're a bunch of dummies.
Hey, Coles, let me ask you something. Because you mentioned how like they're able to capture these great personalities. Now, we all know that Aardman has done like things like Creature Conference. They even did something before then where they would record dialogues of people like salesmen trying to sell stuff to old folks, and they would just capture this natural dialogue and animate to it. And first of all, do you think that being able to study that kind of interaction and just natural way of talking has helped this? And does it sound like they actually let these people ad lib a little bit?
It does. The thing is that the script is so damn good. There's no moment, especially during the comedy bits, do they feel like they're making up, because I think with a movie like this, it'd be too fucking expensive to try to do that and try to animate over it. But I mean, with the script they had, was tight. It was really clever. And the thing that I really loved, to where it really like it was a signaling in my head that this is an Aardman movie. There are small moments in this movie where you see like animal creatures, or like there's a great scene where there's a seal who's like just kind of hanging on an iceberg, and this ship comes out of nowhere. The reaction on this seal, especially when the ship like rises it from in the fortress, I guess, where Santa Claus is, the seal's on the top of the ship looking around like, what the fuck is happening?